Stonehenge, zero line track housing across the way from Kimball from the Ventura Aquatic Center. What makes this subdivision, this neighborhood, so popular and so hot? We're going to get into how to buy and how to sell in Stonehenge. Pay attention, because here we go. Okay, you guys, Stonehenge, the zero lot line, well-constructed family homes of 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2-bath homes that has a great neighborhood environment. This subdivision was created for its proximity to schools on the east end and its great construction. Usually homes built between the 1950s and 1970s are kind of that sweet spot of construction where there wasn't a lot of high density urban sprawl, where you still had good lots, good space, good community, and good construction. That's one of the foundation moments of this housing tract. And speaking of foundation, they also have tied concrete. So in those slabs, they're actually really reinforced for good support. So in addition to the good construction, the way that they were designed for privacy, so even though it's zero lot line, you're not looking right in at your neighbors, so it doesn't have to be just a cul-de-sac or a corner lot to kind of get that notion of privacy. That aspect was done really well. They have created many courtyards and little outdoor area spaces, which is a big advantage. And one of the reasons it is so hot right now is because we have that retiree or baby boom generation all kind of going after single family homes, and which ones are well constructed or remodeled really nicely with easy simplicity layouts, very walkable and easy to move around. It's the Stonehenge community. So that's kind of one of the hot spots of town. Not only is it a good, family neighborhood for people that have kids, but because that price point is starting to push above the nines and into the millions, we're starting to see more retirees that really need that single level. So if someone's a first-time home buyer, they might go a little further east, or they might buy something that's a little bit more in the fixer category that they can kind of improve and improve upon the neighborhood as well as the house themselves. So it's really important to know, hey, if you're a seller, who your demographic is. So if you find yourself as being one of the people that is thinking about selling, you really have to know who your avatar is and how to cater prepping the property to the buyer. We're going to get into that in a little bit about things to do to get ready for the sale. And you can watch one of our videos about prepping a property for sale. But let's talk about the buy side before we get into that sell side. We're going to get into some really good stuff for you sellers out there about how to hit this avatar. But these are the people most likely. We have a property for sale off market, and the people in our office that had someone for it are people that are moving from another part of California for someone else that want to be close to family. And it's usually a single parent or someone who's, like a widower, or someone, maybe they were separated, but it's a single person, maybe a couple, but they're retirees that want to be closer to family and they want to land in these places. Or it's someone downsizing off the hill in Ventura if it's a local buyer. Those are the most premium buyers that you have, that have the capital, the cash, that have the equity or qualifications to buy these homes. A lot of times if it's a first-time home buyer, they haven't saved up the equity yet. They don't have the big down payment, so they're going to be priced out. Once they hit that 850 mark, they're a little bit priced out. The first-time home buyers are still kind of buying single families between 750, 850. A lot of times those are fixers. That's a whole nother story. But these properties, condition-wise, they stay in really great condition. Sometimes the atriums will have some flooding if it's a really heavy rain, so you want to pick and look at the history of each unit there. But for the most part, these properties, they show well, they do well, especially if you've done upgrades, especially if you've done the the kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, electrical upgrades. Anything like that is really going to add to the property, and especially if you've done good stamped concrete, flower, potted plants and flowers, and it's showing well there, it's going to do really well when it's prepped for sale. The buyers typically tend to be these avatars that I was talking about. It's harder to get that family. The families tend to, and the younger hip generations A lot of times those first-time home buyers, they want to be downtown. They want to be in Midtown. They want to be maybe on the West End where there's a little bit more walkability and hustle and bustle and things kind of going on that are lively. They want to take on those fixtures because they haven't done it before and they're ambitious, you know, and the can of paint will fix anything. So they're going to learn those lessons the hard way. But a place like this, Stonehenge, if you're taking care of the windows, you're taking care of the maintenance as far as your roof, and you've re-roofed, and you've done renovation in the kitchen, those are some of the best things that you can do to get a return on your investment and have a good sale. Neglected properties, those tend to never do well, but especially in this market. We are in a market right now, 2026, if you're watching this. In this market in 2026, because of inflation prices and the cost of fixing, and we live in a community that's close enough to the mountain fire and the Palisades fire, a lot of contractors are plenty busy. And a lot of times people will do this push out. This is really good key information. As contractors, all electrical plumbers, they all know what they're doing when they do this. They'll quote you a high price and they'll be like, okay, if you're willing to pay it, like, I'll do it. Otherwise, I've got to go do this other job. And a lot of times that's their attitude. When it starts to thin out, you start to get better pricing from them. It's really not fair. Like, I've got a lot of gripe with how contractors actually do their business and being able to be transparent and be in a timely manner and get quotes on time. Oh my gosh, can you just get a timely quote? Like, let's not even talk about the work. Like, we'll judge it. And a lot of times they won't. They'll kind of hold on to that quote for like 2 days to 2 weeks to 3 weeks. You haven't even gotten the quote yet. They're like, okay, well, as long as you're still asking for it, I know you're there and I'll fit it in when it's good for me. So I'm down here downtown, and it's actually graduation day, so I'm watching people walk down in cap and gown and things like that. So back to that. So school, you've got Point City School, excellent grade school, and then they're going into Balboa, also really great school for kids for middle school, and then they can move on to Buena, which is known for its academics and college prep. So really good school options, and it's really interesting because we're kind of becoming a bedroom community. You've probably seen or heard that in some of my other videos. We're becoming where we've got more retirees living in Ventura than families that have grown up, graduated, come back and living here. Don't have that as much. Some of the schools are going to be shut down. Ventura this year is going to shut down 2 schools. How does that affect real estate sales? Well, this is how it affects it. So people want to buy into good, school neighborhoods, so they get a good return on the investment. However, if you start to thin out and like kids aren't going to school anymore, is that really going to go up? So that's kind of like one of those rules of thumb where that was, a real estate terminology from like a while ago. But what's more important than that, than schools, is locally is the SOAR initiative. So because of green spaces, environmentally minded, Ventura County, because most of this is farm ag land and they can't convert that for development, for high development. Right now, the cities, municipalities, county, they're all in agreement that this golden calf, so to speak, of SOAR, wanting to limit new structures and how things can be rezoned. We are hurting on housing. That's why in a market like this where prices are really coming down in the country, and we're in California, it's one of the most expensive places, because of the inability to develop quickly and timely and cost effectively, prices are going up. So even with the level off what we're seeing in most of the market, we're still seeing places like this. So if you have a property, there's a good chance it's going to sell. If you're a seller, it'll go quickly. However, we are in a market that's soft enough and critical enough that if the property isn't prepped, and I'm not saying you have to fix everything, what you have to do is you have to be aware of what your major fixtures are, and then you have to go get a list, and then you have to decide which ones you're going to do. At the end of the day, you have to pretty up your property good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. We had some sellers recently where, we're thinking about staging, maybe not staging, they wanted to get some painting done. It's like, okay, well, if you do some touch paint, you don't have to paint the whole house, just do some touch paint. We'll put up some photos, put up some potted plants, do decorative, towels in the bathrooms and decorative linens in the kitchens, set up a living room, dining room, and all of a sudden you've got a staged home that feels like a home, not just a house, not just an empty box. All of these things are part of prep that go a long way. And here's the big kicker, and you've heard me say it before in these videos, is digital assets. You're watching one right now. This is a digital asset. This is an avatar of me having a conversation with you because I want you to know this information so that whether we work together or you work with someone else, that you have this, that you've received this knowledge. You know what's going on in Stonehenge, you know what's going on with the buying process, you know what's going on with the selling process. So we have closed on a property off market for around $950 in this neighborhood earlier this year. We have another listing coming up in this year. We've got our finger on the pulse with this. Not even getting it to market yet. We've already got 3 agents calling about this listing because they heard about it and word spreads like wildfire. We're going to push out this digital asset that you're watching right now, as well as flyers, postcards, brochures. We'll do the mega open house. We will do the broker tour and the neighbors only open house. And at these moments, and you're watching, and you'll see this if you come to one of ours or you've been to one of my opens, you'll know we usually have, you know, some nice food, you know, maybe some light catering, little treats. We might have live music, we might have just some background music, but we're going to make a really nice, serene environment. We love to invite the neighbors because we like to meet them and hear the good things that they like to say about it. But when you have this environment, friends and family moving around, when the buyers come in, which is you know, if you buyers out there, when you guys come in, this is part of the sales process. We're doing what's called creating social proof. And what that does is it creates a buzz about the property. Now, sometimes, like on Shasta across telephone, we had neighbors genuinely looking at the property that we had for sale there because that one had been updated, renovated. And they're looking around, they're saying, okay, well, I don't want to leave my house, but I don't want to leave my neighborhood. But actually, if I could sell my house and buy this renovated one, that might be the easier move because right now, people do not want to be, like I said before, people do not want to do the construction. The lag time, the wait time, windows can take forever, flooring. We're doing an unintentional renovation on our house. If you watched, you know, videos about that, where the flooring, you know, we asked the contractor, hey, you know, we really want this flooring. We should order it now before they're out. They've got plenty of it. I checked with them. They got plenty of it. Several times asked to order it. It comes time to do the floors. It's getting close. Hey, we should order it. Like, you haven't ordered it yet? Oh, I just want to, okay. Great contractor, great person, incredible human being, you know. Yeah, I checked with them. It's going to arrive on Wednesday, so okay, so we're losing a little bit of time, a half week, maybe a week. That's okay. They just said it's out of stock. You know, you want to do a renovation, you want to get what you want. You know what that's going to cost you in time to get what you want. Mistakes need to get fixed. You know, there's the deconstruction and there's the construction. Construction mistakes need to get fixed. Maybe you do have a genuine change. Uh-oh, I made a mistake too, but I want to change it. By the time you get what you want and not just getting it done, will be, it could be like 6, 9, 10 months, a year, just doing a renovation. If you're doing a whole house, that could be a year, year and a half, or 2 years. So you want to buy the pretty one. So all the buyers right now are going after the pretty done houses, but not all of them have to be complete. If they at least feel good and feel like a home, people are willing to take on those repairs, usually in the form of credits. And if you're a seller, you guys, you want to know what you're up against. Oftentimes sellers are like, okay, well, we don't want to know because, and I get that. I totally get that. It's like, we don't want to know, or we weren't in the house and we didn't live in it and we don't want to be pushing or showing things before offers. You don't have to show it right then. You have to disclose it once you're in contract. You don't have to lead with the inspection. But yeah, if you don't know that you've got a wrecked chimney, if you don't know that you have a foundation and major foundation issue that was resolved maybe 10 or 20 years ago, but it's come back and it's worse. And if you don't know that you've got a leaky roof, not just, oh, this should, no, that's actually leaking in 3 or 4 places, and there's, you know, a mold remediation company or investigator finding those areas, stuff under the sink. You got 4 or 5 major things with your pretty house that you don't know about. It's like, okay, well, that's going to be a lot harder to push because now you're in the second round. The buyer has all the leverage because they can back out. And then there's all the stuff that they didn't know about. So they saw value at a certain number, but now that they've discovered these things, whereas if you can make a house look pretty, you can be like, okay, by the way, if you're looking to write, here are some of the issues. Price accordingly for those issues, you can get it done. Now the ones that are premium and they're in great shape, they don't have any of these defects, those do the best. That's what people want. People want to be able to move in, it's turnkey, the house works, open the door, shut the door, open the stove, shut the stove. Everything just kind of works. They don't have to, well, they'll want to do their own touches, but they don't have to fix the house. People just bought the house. They don't usually have money to fix a house. Now, in the case where people have fixers and really do have that dream of playing house or, playing home makeover, they have to buy down. Let's get back into what I was saying before. So a neighborhood like Stonehenge is a premium neighborhood. It's not the most desirable in town, but it's one of the most desirable in the East End. You've got the presidential track above Telephone, Telegraph, and those are some of the bigger, nicer, luxury, semi-luxury homes. And then you've got some other, that kind of a step down for that as you go east, but then you have to go really far east, but Kimball's not that far. So where do you go instead? You go to Stonehenge, single level, good construction, great renovations. That's the place. So you've got this good hook, you've got the good, fish hook on the lure with Stonehenge, but you have to finish it. You have to do, these maintenance items, the cleanup, the prep work, make it look good. And if you don't do those things, your digital assets are not good enough. They're not going to look good. They're going to look like crap. And you're going to be showing it to the whole internet on Zillow and Redfin and all those other, internet sites. So at Sotheby's, we want it to look immaculate. This is art through voice, art through assets, white glove service. We're gonna put on the white gloves, get the house clean, get it prepped, make it look as good as it possibly can. And everybody's at a different scale. Some people have $3,000. $3,000 can go a long way. If you have $3,000 in time, you can do it. Some people have $30,000. What I found, if you're under $1 million, you don't want to spend more than $30,000. It's gonna be really hard to get a return if you're spending more than $30,000. But if you've got a total gut fixer, you can spend $30,000 and really make it look amazing and probably get 100 to 150 more for your property, not be in the 6s and 7s, but maybe be in the 8s and 9s. But if you've got, $3,000 is a good kind of general between doing like your touch paint, staging, things like that. If you want to have some seed money out there to get these properties ready, usually a floor that's not choppy, like carpet, tile, wood, and that's all different. That's not great. One floor throughout, if you're gonna have it different, be different in the bathrooms, that's fine. So these are the things that we wanna focus on. We're selling the property. We've established that Stonehenge is a place that people wanna be. There's real estate agents have lists, there's neighbors there, there's agents that are scouting out, they want the property. However, when we get into pricing, that doesn't mean that it's going to be 1.2. It's just not. Comps don't support it. What you can do is you can be on the higher end of your range, which they tend to be between 850 and 950. So are a couple going to sell closer to $1 million? Yes. If they're totally dialed in, they're prepped and staged, and that market moment is right, you can get them towards $1 million. But trying to list at like 1,050,000 or 1.1 or 1.2. No, you have to go wider in data, and then you have to look at what 1.2 can get you. 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 is struggling right now. So as we see those bigger drops, you'll see the buyers that can be in the 1.2, 1.4 range, they just get a lot more house for their dollar. They're going to be buying above college. They're going to be buying in some of these areas where you just get so much more house. So it's like focus on that avatar, focus on the buyer that you can. Don't try to get too much for your home. Be smart about it, but be prepped. So you get the house prepped, you get your digital assets. Here's what you do next. We get them on, where's our postcard out here? Check this out. Yeah, we've got brochures here. Bang, did this one with Loma Vista. We have, where's our QR codes? We have QR codes. So depending on whether we do a postcard or a brochure, these QR codes are going to send people to different places that are going to speak to that avatar, whether they're a buyer or a seller, so that they know what to expect. We have our luxury outlook magazine, like this is so good. This is so good. They're printing this. This isn't homes and land. This isn't homes and land. Like the quality of this is so much higher. Got our listings in here. So the distribution, these go out to, homes. What is the earned income? I think it's like 150,000 and above earned income all over Ventura County. And then we've got, the brochures, the postcards, and the flyers. So we're gonna do different QR codes. And this is the physical stuff. This is just, we don't even get into the digital. But they are digital in the sense that we have to have HD photography to create these, and that literally goes from print form to digital, because once they go in there, now all of a sudden they get drawn into a funnel that will take them either to our website, a landing page, go to your property, and it'll show, you know, things like a digital video, you know, different, it'll show a video, but it'll also get them all the analytics on the property, all the data that they need, number of bedrooms and bath, price per square foot, the square footage, the lot, maps, floor plans, all of those things. So it's right at their fingertips. So we do it in a way that it can go, but we've also got ways to kind of track the volume. And there's certain things that we do where we can be like, okay, well, 10 more people look, which might not seem like a big deal, but when you can see that it's been 40 or 50 and you did something that made it go from 40 to 50 and you got 10 more eyeballs on it, those are buyers. Those are active buyers. Those aren't people that are just people or just views like vanity metrics. We've got tons of vanity metrics. We'll get exposure. Exposure is a word that gets used a little too much sometimes. It has its place. It totally has its place. But it's how much activity are you getting for the exposure. So what's really key is if you're getting really big numbers on exposure and you're getting like thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, you need to have a margin that comes up, like a percentage to the exposure that's active, either with calls, inquiries, saves, that the person behind there is doing something to have some sort of engagement. If that's not happening, it's just kind of blind metrics. So what we'd like to do is we like to see an activity where when we do something, we know, okay, we send out this mailer, we know that those people, that those buyers are opening that at what percentage. I think we got 10 out of 200, which is 5%. But sometimes that's what it takes. You only need one buyer when you're the seller. But things like that work. So we're really doing it from all angles. We're there to hold your hand through the prep of the property. We are there to guide you in that, get ready for the listing launch. And there's only one way to do the listing launch, the right way, okay? I've seen too many realtors, and too often I'll see these people go on, they put it on and they have it on one of these, you know, other agencies or national agencies, and they haven't even taken HD photos yet. This is how bombing they are. And they're gonna submit it to like a percentage of agents in a national brokerage, under-marketed, not to the quality, and all these people are gonna see the property, and now you're going down that side of the bell curve. Instead of ramping up, you're starting by going down. You're starting kind of like at the bottom, you know, or trying to work your way up, but you're cutting off the bubble as you do that. So as those people see the property and say no to it and deny, you're really just kind of moving the top tier buyers down. They're just coming down to the bottom, to where that precedent that you set. So it's really interesting how there's properties, I'm like, oh, I could sell that property for $750, and then you see someone else do a listing, like, oh, they're gonna sell it like in the 600s. So buyers, this is what we're doing to list the property, so you guys kind of have an inside track, you know. So this is really a seller's video, but if you're watching this as a buyer, this is the gold, because you can start to see these things. You'll start to see a well-staged house. You'll start to see a home that's overpriced, and asking the right questions, whether you're talking to the listing agent or you're talking to an agent that you're working with, or you're just calling people directly. You want to find out about the activity. And if the exposure is super high and there's like one person or no people coming to the open houses and there's no calls and no showings, that home is overpriced for this market. 100%. You've got 30 days to get 25 to 30 people into the home to see if you're going to get a sale. If you've only got 10 people in and you maybe have a buyer, it's like, okay, well, that's 1 out of 10 people you can maybe gauge could be an interested buyer. But if you don't have enough exposure to draw that many people in, you're overpriced. That's a sign of being overpriced. So it's the percentage of the exposure that we want to see. So dropping price is a huge thing to do at the 30 to 40 day mark. 30-day mark, if you haven't got something, doesn't seem like you can get anything, then get it going. Have your pricing strategy ready to go, and don't reach for the stars. If you have a range of numbers, market value is the lower number. It's not that like, oh, this one. If it's this one, you list it here, it'll get up there. If you list it at the higher range of numbers, like, oh, this could sell between 9 to a million, you list it at a million, okay. Well, at the 30-day mark, what do? Drop it to 975 or 950? 50 is a pretty big cut. Drop it to 975, get to 60-day mark, you mark it to 950. Should have sold at 950 if it was listed at 950. Now all of a sudden you're cutting into your equity, you're going down what you could have got, 930, 925 maybe. And that's if it's a good house. If not, you're down to 900. As you get this $100,000 swing and you're a seller, that hurts. Like, trust me, I know. And not only are you going through the roller coaster of how to get through the transaction, but you feel like you're losing money. So you don't want to be in that situation. Like, have grown-up conversation, have the sit down, whether you're calling me, you're calling one of our colleagues, or sitting down with a realtor, someone that you know, like, and trust, and have this tough conversation about the market and how this market is in the city, in your subdivision, in your neighborhood, in the county, not just national news, because some of our neighborhoods, Midtown, downtown, are popping. Stonehenge is probably going to pop. I anticipate that this listing will do very well. But if you're in or around the area and you're not in one of those popping neighborhoods, you need to know that. You need to look at the data. So you don't want to get too microscopic and look at just your neighborhood. Go out a little further and wider and see what other properties could you buy for the dollar that you want to list at, and that's your competition, because people are shopping around. They're not just shopping around neighborhoods, they're shopping around cities. They're shopping around kind of all of California sometimes. Sometimes it's Central Coast, sometimes they want to be in San Luis, or maybe they want to be in San Diego. And it's that wide. There are people from Albuquerque today looking at one of our listings, So, I want to say thanks so much for you guys for watching, especially the sellers. This one's for you. We are going to be doing a broker tour, and we're going to have neighbors only open house. If you're seeing this at a later date, that's okay. You can come out to one of our open houses. You can inquire about how the sale did. And if you guys know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, love the referral, love to have that conversation with you. Thanks so much.